is my labour and delivery story, which I haven't actually done yet. I thought I had, but I have spoken about my labour in updates of Sebastian, but not, and obviously as soon as I had him, but not kind of properly. So if you want to see my labour and delivery with Sebastian, click down below in the description box. I'll link that there. The quality's not great, but it's basically interesting to hear the difference between an induction and a natural labour, because both of them are very, very different. So to begin with, my labour and delivery story starts on the 31st, Monday the 31st of October, which was Halloween. As you guys know, I did some videos on the run up and I just felt very heavy, very, very uncomfortable, a lot of pressure like down below. And I did feel like I could push and he would come out, but with no pain, if that made sense. So the Sunday night on the 30th, I thought I'd try my breast pump out, and I tried it out just to see if it would work, and I managed to get quite a bit of colostrum. So I harvested that, and I was happy to try the pump out because I don't know if you guys know, but nipple stimulation kind of can help induce labour. So that's why I kind of tried it as well. And nothing happened. Felt a few twinges, but nothing mega. So Monday came, felt a lot of pressure again. Patch I didn't need to walk Patch. He was on his little holiday with people that we know who like to take care of him. But I thought I would take Sebastian for a walk to get him down for a nap. This was about 11 o'clock, and also to see if I could get things going. Took him for a short walk, but I was in so much discomfort. Walking just was really hard that I ended up coming back. And luckily Sebastian managed to sort of fall asleep. Normally I'd nap with him, but for some reason on this day I just didn't feel like I could nap. I was very tired, but I didn't feel like napping. And at the same time, my clary sage oil had arrived in the post. So while he was napping, I decided to go upstairs and put some clary sage oil on my bump, but never put it on me. I used a carrier oil, literally like 2 drops in, like quite a bit of carrier oil, and rubbed it on my bump to see if it would do anything. Again, I didn't really sort of feel anything happen straight away. And 1 o'clock came, and we decided to walk down, sort of probably about 10-minute walk down to a local group that we always go to on a Monday. During the walk, I started to feel a lot of Braxton Hicks very, very tight, and they didn't seem to sort of let up, like they weren't sort of stopping. I also noticed I couldn't really feel Albert's movements, and I hadn't felt his movements for most of the day. I felt a few, but nothing mega. So when I went to this group, I spoke to them about it, the girls there, and they were like, oh, you need to ring the midwives. But a friend of mine made me drink some cold water, and then she put her hand on my bump and she actually felt a movement, but I couldn't feel it because my bump was just so tight. And I just remember saying to them that I just felt really odd, like I just felt strange. I didn't know if anything was happening. There was no pain, but just felt like very uncomfortable and just ready to have the baby. I felt really uncomfortable at that point. It felt like I was having a constant Braxton Hicks, like a constant long kind of tightening. So I walked back home with Sebastian, and about 4 o'clock I started to cook dinner, and that was when I felt my first kind of twinge, and I'd say it was more like a period pain. It stopped at that point. Chris came home, we had dinner, and I just felt for that whole time just a bit odd, just not quite right. And about 7 o'clock, things started to pick up a bit. I started to feel a few more like period-y type pains, but I didn't know if I was in labour. I thought they were just kind of period pains, but still, while Sebastian was having his bath, I started nesting and started getting everything ready. I put the co-sleeper out. I started getting everything kind of where it should be, get the hospital bag ready. And that was that. Sebastian went to bed, and then things started to really pick up, and I started to get more regular contractions, and they were getting quite sore. And I remember getting really angry with Chris because he kept saying, oh, I've got to be up for work at like 5 in the morning or something, and getting cross with him because I felt like saying, you're not going to be going to work. We're going to be having a baby. But I didn't know if I was having a baby, so I couldn't tell if I was actually, I didn't know that I was in labour. Like I couldn't say I was in labour, so I couldn't say anything. So yeah, Chris went to bed at probably about 11 o'clock, half 10, 11, and he tried to get me to go to bed as well. But I couldn't go to bed because I was just in too much pain at that point. At that point, I think contractions were every sort of 2 minutes, and they were lasting only about 40 seconds, about 45 seconds, something like that. And it was just really frustrating me that they weren't lasting longer. I rang the midwife. She said, ring me back when you get to the point where they're at least a minute long and shorter in time in between. So I got out of bed then. I left Chris in bed and I went downstairs and tried to watch telly, but I couldn't, and things just started to really pick up. By midnight, I was really kind of moaning downstairs. I was like, through, like sounding like a cow through each contraction. And Chris, I think it woke him up and he came downstairs. I rang the midwife and she said, yeah, you know, I'm on my way. And they were lasting about a minute then. And they were about a minute and a half in between. She said, yeah, I'm on my way, set up the pool. So Chris started setting up the pool and everything. And by the time, so it was about half an hour by the time she got here. So this was about like 1:30 or something. And 1:30, 1:30, no, about 1:30, 2 o'clock-ish. So that was that. And then she came over, listened to his heart rate, and it was all over the place. As you guys know, Albert had like an irregular heart rate anyway, but it had just gotten really bad. And she was like, stop the water, we're going to the hospital. So she rang an ambulance, and by 2 o'clock, the ambulance had arrived and they offered me gas and air. So I was really relieved. I was 3 centimetres when the midwife had come over at that point as well. So I got in the ambulance and Chris had to go and drop off Sebastian to a friend. So he said, you know, I'll take your hospital bags, I'll put them in the car and I'll take Sebastian, I'll meet you at the hospital. He was quite quick doing all that because he kind of met me at the hospital at the same time. So this was about 1:30. From about 1:30 to 1:30, I'd gone from 3 centimetres to nearly 6 centimetres when I got to the hospital. After that, it's all kind of a bit of a blur. I was really high on the gas and air. I was just totally off my head. And I ended up sacking it off in the end. It was just like I didn't want it anymore because it was just making me high. It wasn't taking away the pain. I was in agony. The contractions were so intense. It wasn't so much the pain as it was the intensity. So I kept feeling sick because it felt like my body felt like a sponge, like someone was squeezing it and then letting it go. And it was just really intense. That kind of, you know, I felt like my stomach was being squeezed and then relaxed. I really was asking for an epidural at that point, and Chris knew I didn't want one and kept kind of holding off and saying, no, she doesn't want one. Let's just see how she goes without one. And things just really kept picking up. When I got there, he'd actually pooed, so they decided to break my waters to speed it up even more, even though it was going really fast anyway. They broke my waters, and I remember thinking, oh my God, they're so hot. They just felt really, really hot, and it was just the weirdest feeling ever. My cervix, although it had dilated, it hadn't dilated thin enough that it was basically blocking his head. So they had to like lift it up, and that really hurt because it was just hands in there and stuff. That was really sore. Next thing I know, it was about 4:30, so like an hour later, and I had gone to like 9 centimetres. So I dilated really, really quickly. And they were like, right, you've got to push now, he's there. And I was thinking, I remember saying, I don't want to push because I could feel the burn. There was this real burn, the ring of fire, they call it. And it just absolutely killed. And I remember just saying, I want to push, I feel the urge to push, but I don't want to push because it just really, really is burning me. And in the end, I just pushed and remember going, ow, 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 ow. It was more like a stinging pain. And I felt his head come out. And they were like, his head's out, so you've done the hardest bit. But his body hurt just as much to come out as it did the head. So I didn't feel like there was any relief until he had completely come out. And I just did a final push. I can't remember how long I was pushing for, but it really didn't feel like very long at all. It felt like it was quite easy. Just pushed and he came kind of, I just remember kind of him going whoop, kind of out, and he was plonked straight on my chest, and it was just the most amazing feeling, but it was really quite painful, but probably because it was so fast and so intense. Having said that though, even though it was really painful and very intense, I've obviously had a labour where I've had an epidural and pain relief, and I would never go through that again. That was by far more traumatic than this was, if that makes sense. Which sounds really strange, but I had the labour I wanted. That was what I wanted. I wanted to experience it, and I did. I didn't have to have any stitches. I was able to have my 3rd stage, delivering the placenta naturally, just like I wanted it. And I was discharged the next day. I mean, this was 4:30 in the morning on the Tuesday the 1st. So, the same day, I suppose I was discharged. Maybe about 9 hours later, just to check that his heart rate was okay, because it had regulated itself by that point. And yeah, that was that really. So that's a really quick labour and delivery story, but it was that fast and that intense. Of course, I didn't get my home birth that I wanted, didn't get to use the pool, but you know, he's here and he's happy and healthy, and that was the main thing. And I'm just so happy with the way it went. I will do a video versus, you know, labour versus induction versus natural labour, just to kind of talk through the differences. Would I have an epidural again? Would I have an epidural next time, having experienced the pain this time? having not experienced it last time, no, I wouldn't. I would do that over and over again, which is so weird to say because it was agony, but I would do it over again. I felt amazing afterwards. I just felt like, yes, I did it with nothing, no pain relief, not even paracetamol, because I wouldn't consider gas and air pain relief because it doesn't take the pain away at all. It just makes you high. So I'd happily have that again. But yeah, it was a really euphoric feeling afterwards. I just felt fantastic. So I would definitely do it again with no pain relief if I can. That's it for this video. I hope you guys like it. And yeah, please click like. I'd really appreciate that. And I will see you guys soon. And subscribe for more videos. Bye.